everyone, welcome back to Pabbly. In this video, we're going to learn how to create QuickBooks Invoice on Paperform submission. So I'm an owner of a digital marketing agency, and using Paperform, I have created a form with the help of which I collect my clients' details on which service they are interested in. And according to the service that they select, I want to create the invoice of that same service in my QuickBooks account. Now, creating these invoices manually can be very time consuming. So what I've done is I've simply automated this entire process. Now, whenever by any of the client, a new form submission is going to be done using Paperform automatically for that same client and the service that they have selected while doing the form submission, an invoice is going to be created in my QuickBooks account. And for that, I'm going to connect my Paperform to QuickBooks with Pabbly Connect. So if you want to learn about this amazing automation step by step, for that, let me take you to my screen. In this video, we're going to learn how to create QuickBooks Invoice on Paperform submission. So as an owner of a digital marketing agency, I have created a form using Paperform, using which I am collecting my clients' details and understand their interest in my specific services. And I use QuickBooks to generate invoices based on the services client selects and to manage my financial records professionally. So what I have done in this video is I've just simply automated this entire process. Now, whenever a client submits a new form using Paperform, automatically an invoice is created in my QuickBooks account based on the services that they have selected. This ensures accuracy, saves time, and allows me to focus on delivering quality marketing services to my clients. And I'm going to create this amazing automation between Paperform and QuickBooks with the help of Pabbly Connect. So on the screen, you can see the website of Pabbly Connect, that is pabbly.com/connect. After browsing this website, we need to sign in to our Pabbly Connect account. But if you're a new user, you can sign up for free and get 100 free tasks every month. So as I'm an existing user, I'm going to sign in to my Pabbly Connect account. After signing in, you can see the all Pabbly apps window in front of you, in which you can see all the applications of Pabbly, from which we are going to select Pabbly Connect by clicking on this Access Now button. Then Pabbly Connect's dashboard is going to appear in front of you. In order to start an automation process in Pabbly Connect, we need to create a workflow. For that, click on this top right corner button right here that says Create Workflow. A dialog box is then going to appear in front of you, which is asking for the workflow name and for us to select a folder. So for the name of my workflow over here, I'm going to write it as Create QuickBooks Invoice on Paperform Submission. So this is the name that I want to give to my workflow, okay? After that, it is asking for us to select a folder. So on the left side of my screen, you can see I've created multiple folders in my Pabbly Connect account, from which I'm going to select a specific folder in which I want to save this workflow in. For that, click on this drop down. These are the folders from which I'm going to select QuickBooks Automations as the folder I want to save this workflow in. After giving the name to the workflow and selecting the folder, I'm going to click on this Create button in order to create a workflow. A workflow is created in the name of Create QuickBooks Invoice on Paperform Submission. And after creating the workflow, you can see there are two windows in front of you. One says Trigger, other says Action. So what is Trigger and Action? Trigger and action are the two most important steps of our automation process because our process depends on these two concepts. Over here, trigger says when this happens and action says do this. That means what is action? Action is a response towards our trigger. In an automation process, there can be only one trigger step but multiple action steps. We are going to set up our trigger step first. And for the trigger application, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it as Paperform. As using Paperform, I have created a form with the help of which my clients are going to send the services that they are interested in. I want that as soon as the form submission is going to be done using Paperform, automatically over here in the trigger, Pabbly Connect should capture the response of that. And that is why for my trigger event, I'm going to select it as new form submission. After selecting the trigger application and the event, you can see Pabbly Connect has provided us with a webhook URL. Using this webhook URL, we are going to build a connection between Paperform and Pabbly Connect by following the steps given here below in the help desk. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to first copy this URL from here. After copying the URL, I'm going to open the form that I want to connect to Pabbly Connect that I've created using Paperform. So this is the form over here in the name of Digital Marketing Services Inquiry Form, and I want to connect this form to Pabbly Connect. In order to do that, from this panel over here on the top, go to this After Submission button, and from the drop down, go to Integrations and Webhooks option right here. As I'm going to do that, you'll be landed towards this page, and if you're going to scroll down, there is an option called Webhook. You can see right here, click on it, okay? Now we're going to create a new webhook. For that, I'm going to click on this Add Webhook button right here. it is asking for the webhook URL. For that, I'm going to paste the webhook URL that Pabbly Connect has provided us. And as we're going to do that, it is asking for the triggered on, when this workflow should be triggered on. For that, I'm going to select it as new submission, as whenever a new form submission is going to be done by the firm that I've created using Paperform, automatically the response should be forwarded to this webhook URL right here, okay? After entering the URL and selecting the trigger on, I'm going to click on this create button right here. As I've done that, you can see the webhook URL is now been successfully added to my form that I've created using Paperform. As I've done that, I'm going to go back to my workflow and scroll down. It is saying waiting for webhook response. So now to check whether Paperform is connected to Pabbly Connect or not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the test submission of this form that I've created using Paperform. And after doing the test submission, I'm going to check whether Pabbly Connect captures the response of the test submission or not, okay? For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the search button right here on the top. And over here, I'm going to click on the social and URL. This is the URL of this form. I'm going to copy this URL from here. And I'm going to open this URL on the new tab right here, okay? As I'm going to do that, this is the form. We are going to do test form submission. It is asking for the client's first name. So for the first name over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it as Smart. For the last name over here, I'm going to write it as test45. For the email over here, I'm going to write it as smarttest45@pabblytudes.com. And for the phone number over here, I'm going to write in a dummy mobile number, okay? After that, it is asking for the service interested in. And in the services, you can see I've mentioned all the services that I provide with the pricing of the services, okay? So I'm going to select the service over here as web development, let's suppose. After filling in all the required details, I'm going to click on the submit button to do the test submission. It says submission successful. Now means the test submission is now been done. As now the test submission is done, I'm going to go back to my workflow and scroll down. Over here, you can see the response of the test form submission is successfully captured in our trigger. Let us tally the response. At the response, we have received the trigger as submission. Submission ID is also provided. If I'm going to further scroll down right over here, the service interested in over here comes as web development. That is for 7999. You can see right over here. For the phone number, this is the mobile number. For the email, this is the email that is smarttest45@pabblytudes.com. Last name as test45. First name as Smart with all the other details like the created ad. You can see right here, okay? So as now the submission is done successfully and we have received the response in our trigger, this means that Paperform has now been connected to Pabbly Connect and our trigger setup is done. Now whenever a test form submission is going to be done by the client using Paperform, automatically what is going to happen, Pabbly Connect is going to capture the response of that in this similar manner. Now after the test form submission is done, what I want is, I want to create an invoice for the same client using QuickBooks. I want to create the invoice of the service that they have selected it, and then I want to just keep a record of all my invoices. Now for creating an invoice in our QuickBooks account, we have to firstly create that person who have done the form submission as a customer in our QuickBooks account. And after creating the customer, we have to create the invoice for that same customer in our QuickBooks account. Now, if I'm going to manually create the customer first, it will be very time consuming. So instead of that, we're going to just simply set up our action step. And for the action application over here, I'm going to select it as QuickBooks Online, okay? And for the action event, I want to first create a customer. So I'm going to select it as create a customer, okay? And then I'm going to click on this connect button to build the connection between QuickBooks and Pabbly Connect. A window is going to appear in front of you on which click on add new connection, or else you can select the existing connection that you have. After that, I'm going to click on this connect with QuickBooks Online right here. As I've done that, you can see I've successfully authorized QuickBooks to Pabbly Connect. After authorizing, it is asking for all these details with the help of which we can create customers in our QuickBooks account. So for the data of these fields, what we are going to do is we are going to map the data. What is mapping? Mapping means inserting data from the previous step. So we're going to insert the data from the previous step of this workflow. How mapping works is that over here it is asking for the first name first of our customer that we want to create. I'm going to click on this field. As I'm going to click on this field, you can see this was the previous step of this workflow, that is Paperform new form submission. You can see right here. As I'm going to click on it, you can see this is the same response that was captured in our previous step is right here, okay? Now, in this response, we have received the data of our client and we have to create this same client as a customer in our QuickBooks account. So for the data of this field, I'm going to select the data from my previous response. Over here, it is asking for the first name of our client. So in my previous response, I have received the data of the first name of my customer. If I'm going to show you, this is the first name you can see right here. So for the data of this field, I'm going to select the data of my customer from my previous response. As I've selected the data from my previous response, the data is mapped. And as I have mapped the data has now become dynamic. That means now whenever a new form submission is going to be done and response is going to be captured in our previous step, automatically the new data is going to be updated in place of this mapped data. It is asking for the last name next, so I'm going to map the data of the last name right here. So this is the last name right here. I'm going to map it, okay? You need to simply add the details that you require in this field right over here, okay? And if it says required, you have to fill the details right here, okay? It is asking for the display name. I'm going to give the display name as first name and last name only. So this is first name space the last name, okay? After that, it is asking for the title, all these fields which I do not require. So I'm going to skip the part. For the phone number, I'm going to map the data of the phone number right here. I've received it. I'm going to map it right here, okay? Next, it is asking for the email address. So I'm going to map the data of the email address right here. This is the data, I'm going to map it. After that, it is asking for all these details which I do not require. So I'm going to simply skip the part, okay? I'm going to go down. It is asking for the currency. Over here for the currency, I'm going to write it as INR because I deal with Indian rupees. So I'm going to select over here as INR, okay? You have to write the code right here, okay? After filling all the required details, I'm going to click on the Save and Send Test Request button to create a new customer in my QuickBooks account. As I've done that, over here we've received a response, which is a positive response. Now to check whether a new customer has been created in my QuickBooks account, for that I'm going to open my account. This is my account right over here. And from the panel of the left side of my screen, I'm going to go to the sales section and then I'm going to go to this customers section right here. As I'm going to come towards the customer section, if I'm going to scroll down, you can see a new customer in the name of Smart Test 45 has been successfully added to my QuickBooks account. Let us tally the response of that. The name comes over here Smart Test 45. If I go to tally the response, email comes as smarttest45@pabblytudes.com with a dummy mobile number. You can see right over here with all the details that we have entered, okay? So as you can see right over here, the customer has now been successfully added over here. So as the customer is added, now what I want to do is, for this customer I've added, I want to create an invoice for this customer right here. So now for creating an invoice for this customer, we are going to add another action step to this workflow. For that, I'm going to click on this plus button right here. And for the action application, I'm going to again select it as QuickBooks right here, QuickBooks Online. And after that, for the action event, as I now want to create an invoice in my QuickBooks account, for that I'm going to select it as create an invoice right here. And now to build the connection between QuickBooks and Pabbly Connect, I'm going to click on this connect button. After click on connect over here, on which it is asking for us to select the connection. I'm going to select the existing connection, but if you want, you can add a new connection that you want. And then I'm going to click on the save button right here as I'm selecting the existing connection that I have, okay? After that, over here, it is asking for the customer. For which customer do we want to create the invoice for? In previous step, as we have created this customer right over here, we have received the customer's ID on the response as well. So for the data of this field, we're going to map the data of the customer ID that we have received because it is asking for the customer ID right here. So for mapping the data of the customer ID, I'm going to toggle this map button on and erase the existing data from here. Now in the response, I'm going to search for the ID right here. As I'm going to search for it, this is the customer ID. I'm going to map the data of that customer ID right away in place of this customer field, okay? So now what is going to happen for this customer whose ID we have mapped, the invoice is going to be created, okay? After that, it's asking for the email. So for the email over here, I'm going to map the data of the email that I've received. I'm going to map the data right here, okay? After that, it is asking for all these details, which I do not require. So I'm going to simply skip the part. I'm going to skip all these parts right here, okay? After that, over here, it is asking for the line item detail type. I want it as sales item line detail. So I'm going to select that item right here. Next, it is asking for the item description. Item description is the name of the product that we are going to create the invoice for, the quantity, the unit price, and with all the other details, okay? So now for all these fields, what we are going to do is we're going to enter the data. Now from where are we going to have the name of the product? So in this previous step right away, if I'm going to scroll down, you can see the product that was selected by my customer for which we are going to create an invoice isn't provided here. In this product, we have also received the price as well, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to fetch this data out from here. And how we're going to do that? Firstly, it is asking for the product name. I'm going to select this product name directly from here, okay? I'm going to map it. Now for the quantity, as this is service, so I'm going to select the quantity 1 over here. It is going to be 1 as I'm providing a service, okay? After that, it is asking for the unit price. Now for the unit price, I'm going to fetch out this data of this price right away. I'm going to take this 7999 rupees out from this name of my product right here. And how we're going to do that? For that, we're going to add another action step to this workflow. And for the action application over here, I'm going to select it as text formatter by Pabbly. It is an amazing feature by Pabbly Connect with the help of which you can format the text according to our requirement. And for the action event, I'm going to select it as text parser. Using this event, we can fetch the data out according to our requirement. Then I'm going to click on this connect button, okay? It is asking for the text from which we're going to take the data out. For the text over here, I want to take the data of the price of our product. For that, I'm going to map the data of the product that was selected by my customer. It is asking for text match after and before. So I want the text between these two brackets right over here. So what I'm going to do is for the after, I'm going to select this curly bracket. I want the after this bracket, I want this text right here. And for before, I want this price before this bracket right here. So I'm going to enter this bracket right here for the before part, okay? And then simply I'm going to click on this save and send test request button. As I'm going to do that, you can see I've received the price of the product as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply enter the price over here, okay? This is the price. I'm going to map the data of the price that I've received in my previous response. It is asking for the line, item, product, and price. I'm going to select as sales right here, okay? After filling in, it is asking for the tax code over here. I don't have the tax code, so I'm going to select it as none right here, okay? It is asking for the line item amount. The amount is the same right over here. So I'm going to simply map the data. This is the total amount and this is the unit price amount. It's just the same. So I'm going to simply map the data. Okay. After that, it is asking for all these fields which I do not require. For the tax code, I'm going to select as none. I don't require them. And then simply what I'm going to do is I don't require all these fields. So I'm going to skip the part and then I'm going to simply click on this save and send test request button right here. As I'm going to do that, we have received a response, which is a positive response. So now I'm going to open my QuickBooks account again to check whether a new invoice is created or not. Okay. So this is my QuickBooks account and in sales section, this is the invoices section right here. I'm going to go to it. As I'm going to come to this page over here, if I'm going to scroll down, you can see a new invoice has been created. I'm going to open this invoice. I'm going to click on this edit invoice button right here. As you can see right away, as I've come to the edit page, you can see a new invoice in the name of SmartTest45 has been created with the email as smarttest45@pabblytudes.com. If you're going to tally the response over here, you can see this is the product that was web development, which was for 7,999. This is the amount you can see quantity comes as 1. As the invoice has now been successfully created in my QuickBooks account for the customer, I've done the form submission using Paperforms. This means that we successfully created an automation between QuickBooks and Paperforms with the help of Pabbly Connect. So now to sum till now what we have done, I'm an owner of a digital marketing agency. In my trigger, I've selected as Paperform new form submission. As using Paperform, I have created a form using which I collect my clients' data who are interested in the services that I provide. I want that as soon as the form submission is going to be done by the client over here, the trigger is going to capture the response of that. Then after that client who have done the submission, I'm going to create that client as a customer in my QuickBooks account first. And after creating that client as a customer, over here in my next action for that same customer, I have created the invoice of that form submission in my QuickBooks account. And for that, I have created this automation between Paperform and QuickBooks with the help of Pabbly Connect. So this was it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Not just with these applications, you can create automation between multiple other applications with the help of Pabbly Connect. If you have any questions, you can contact us on support@pabbly.com. If you have any queries, you can check the queries on forum.pabbly.com. And if you have any pricing related issues, then you can check out this link. If you like this video, please do subscribe to our channel, hit on the like button, comment on if you have any questions or doubts, and please share this video.